Hi there. My name is Lisa Candera, and I am here today with Nina on Straight Talk. I am an autism mom of 18 years, lawyer, and a life coach for autism moms. In my 18 years as an autism mom, the biggest lesson I have learned is that regulation starts with us. And that is what we are going to talk about today.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Nina Perez, and this is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Thank you guys so much for being here. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. You already know the drill and what to do. I have somebody here who I've been really excited to talk about, and I love everything she has to say. So her name is Lisa Candera, and she's a single mom of a teen with severe autism and OCD. She's an attorney. She's an ADHDer, like your girl here, and a dedicated autism mom coach. And she specializes in helping parents of autistic children regulate themselves first so that they can support their kids with greater calm and compassion and confidence. And that's something that really touches my heart because I know that's something my daughter goes through. She has a son who has severe autism. He's nonverbal, and it has been a challenge, but I also know it's going to become more of a challenge as he starts to become a teenager because other things start coming in, right? There's hormones, there's, all of these things that come in, and frustration too. So I really want to have this conversation with you, Lisa, because I know that you're helping the parent regulate so that the child can have also some regulation in their life. And I think it's important that this gets talked about and really expressed and shown. And I don't have too many people that come on the show that talk about this. And this needs to be talked about, right? What I love about Lisa is that her world blends all of this life experience, evidence based tools, deep understanding of emotional demands that the parents face. And so, if you have a child with autism or you're somebody who knows someone, this is going to be the episode for you. So, make sure you pay attention. Go grab a pen, go grab a pad, listen up. All right. This is going to be an important conversation. Lisa, thank you so much for being on Straight Talk. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me here. And for those of you who just want to tune in and listen, I will share that I have a resource that I will share at the end of this that will provide a lot of this information to you in an easy to digest format. And so you can just relax and listen.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do want to get to know you a little bit more, right? Because I want to know what inspired you to focus your work, specifically for this, right? For helping parents to regulate themselves first. That when I read that, I said, "Oh, she's been there. She's been there, done that," right? Because that's what happens when we go through something very heavy for our lives. We want to take that to help someone else. So I wanted to ask you about a little bit more about you and who you are, and what is that that you had to overcome to get to this point today?
Sure. And so I guess I would say the quick answer to your question is this was born out of crisis.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
was in a crisis and for a period of time. And so up until my son was, let's say, 13 years old, this is when the crisis really hit teenage
Yeah.
years. All of my efforts have been focused at how do I help him? How do I support him? How do we fix his behaviors?
Mm,
That was the sole focus. Therapy, interventions, all of that was my view was is once that was fixed, everything would be okay, right? This idea that if I researched enough, if I threw enough resources out at it, I could sort of outrun autism.
mm.
And not only did that not happen, at some point other diagnoses joined the table, right? And so
Right.
most kids with autism have some, form of OCD that you will see with the perseverations. There's a lot of overlap there, but there became a point where OCD really sort of took the front seat and was really driving all of my son's behavior. And so all of the things about focusing on the behavior, what's the antecedent, what is causing the behavior really don't work when a child is being pestered by OCD. And
Mhm.
my focus on I need to fix him, I need to fix his behavior, I need to teach him how to regulate wasn't working. And what I was noticing is that I was losing my mind. I was really just acting out and was getting so frustrated.
Yeah.
And it just became clear at some point that wow, like this is super hypocritical. I am wanting to teach him how to regulate, and I am the hot mess. And
Right.
so it really became apparent, like when we got to that crisis period, that this is not something I can control
Mhm.
anymore.
Mhm.
And I have to figure out how we're going to manage it safely. And so then my question really became to everyone in my son's team was how? How do I do this? How do I stay calm when he's presenting like this 24/7? And that really just became my mission at that point. Like that was the question I had to answer for myself. And so to that point, I had done, therapy and things like that. And they all served a purpose. But at that point, I needed emergency intervention about how to do tomorrow better,
Yeah.
right? And so that was really what I was looking for. And so that's how I came to coaching as a client, just to learn more about how I could regulate myself and the importance that my regulation had on my son. And once I was able to understand that more and implement it in my life and see results, it like became so clear that I had to share this with like every autism mom I knew because I know what it's like to sit in a therapist office and kind of explain autism to someone else. And there's a lot of talk, but there's not really a lot of, and now what?
Yeah.
And go forward. And that's what
Yeah.
I really needed. I needed the support, but I more than that, I needed the no, 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 seriously, what do I do? Right? In this
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's tough, right? I mean, raising a child with severe autism and OCD, right? Like that brings such a unique, hard challenge, right? I mean, I'm just
And then
thinking
you
as
add the hormones,
yeah, right. And I was just gonna
right?
say that. And
Yeah. No, there's that.
then they're teenagers, right? Because I mean, they are, they are human beings and children, and they go through these emotions just like a regular or what they call regular child goes through, right? And to
Neurotypical, right?
what's that?
Like a neurotypical
Yeah, like a
child would go through
neurotypical
that.
child, right? So raising a child with like severe autism and OCD, it's going to bring these unique challenges. So what are some of the common things that you saw, the emotional patterns that you see that you struggled with, that you see that maybe parents are struggling with, right? Like, I guess what I'm asking is, how do we help parents who are listening to you right now kind of recognize that and then try to break those patterns?
Yeah, and I would love to say that there is just like an easy
Right.
thing you here. I really would. And and I'm working with a couple of my clients who are like really at this place right now with their
Mhm.
child.
Mhm.
And I think our instinct as parents is to want to fix and to solve. And when our children are younger, that's a little bit easier. Like for my son's anxiety about, maybe homework or, whether his game was broken or something like that. Like I would jump in there and I would be like, no, like I checked with the teacher and here's the email and, you're okay. And the reassurance and the reassurance. And I was really feeding that sort of need for the reassurance, not knowing it, but I was trying
Right.
to like
Right.
help him understand it. And to some extent that was helpful, but it also created this dependency and also this sort of expectation from him that like mom can solve this. When I'm feeling away, I go to her and she does that thing and eventually I feel better.
Right.
It worked a bit. I'm not going to say that was a silver bullet. There was a lot of effort. A lot of times it didn't work. And there was a lot of frustration on my part. And then when the OCD just really came to the forefront and I was doing the same things, it's like I was getting so frustrated. Why do you keep asking me this? I already answered the question. It's right here. You know this. Like, and I was confronting this disease of OCD as if there were a logical basis to it. There is no
Right.
in it. As a
Mhm.
parent, you're going to get so frustrated. Like, why is this a problem? You know that this happens every day. You like whatever it is for your kid. And when you're trying to like fight that with logic, you're just going to really frustrate yourself and you're going to feel completely defeated and helpless.
Yeah.
In a sense, you are, because this is a disease. And
Right.
quite frankly, it's one that I don't know that we really understand that well. For sure, the comorbidity with the autism, it makes it
Mhm.
very complicated. So the first thing that I would say to parents is like, let go of that idea that this is yours to fix because
Right.
it isn't. Now, finding ways to support our children through this, that's a different thing. That is, something that we can, claim responsibility for, but the like jumping in and fixing and trying to figure out, I mean, I created my entire life around trying to anticipate triggers or OCD loops and then solve them at the same time, and it's completely impossible because
Yeah.
it's like maybe you do quench this one, but another one pops up.
Yeah, that's so interesting, right? Because I think that all of us as parents do that. We try to come in and fix it, save it, stop the behavior. So, I mean, I can imagine how difficult it is also when autism is involved as well, right? So you have a dual thing going on. And as a mom, you're like just trying to save your baby. You're just trying to help your baby out, you know?
And, like, honestly, like, got through from, like, point A to point B
Yeah.
sometimes, right? And to create and to be, safe in safety because what I found and I like what I see my clients experiencing as this takes hold is that their frustration level is pretty high. And then you add in the fact that our kids with autism and ADHD, low frustration levels, impulsivity, hormones, like, the anger, the frustration that happens with that,
Yeah.
it starts to express itself physically, right? There's the scratching, the punching, the hair pulling, the,
Yeah.
destroying of property. All of those things come out and they're horrifying to the parents because they're like, we don't do this in our house, or I didn't
Right.
teach my child this way, or they know better. And so again, trying to apply logic to something that I see it with my own child who was extremely verbal and my clients of kids who are not verbal. It's like when they're in that state, like they're lost
Yeah.
and they're just so frustrated. They don't know what to do and they are acting out because that's all they
Because they're
have.
frustrated. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, just like
That's what.
think about you. Like, I mean, any
Mhm.
person, like when you get really frustrated, like, I, pound my fist against,
Yeah.
a table or stuff my foot. Like you want that release because of
Right.
it's,
Right.
just it's like this boiling pot inside of you.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I've been telling my daughter that because my grandson is 7 years old right now. And, sometimes he'll just keep throwing things or like pushing the gate or doing things. I'm like, he's frustrated. He doesn't know how to tell you because he's nonverbal. I said, so
Yeah.
we're gonna have to start teaching him sign language or something where he can start to communicate that he's frustrated or he's angry about this because it's sad to see that, right? Like he's so angry, but he doesn't know how to use his words, so you're going through this dual thing, right? Now, did you
Yeah,
notice?
and I would
Mhm.
say with that, like, just checking some of those behaviors because there's also a sensory component that they're
Yeah.
getting something, right, from that push-pull, and so, those can when you see those things, those can actually be used for you as coping mechanisms to sort of signify things or like, okay, like when you are upset, like here are preferred activities,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
get that frustration out because I mean, just biologically, when you're frustrated and there's stress percolating in your body, you want to release it in some kind of
Yeah.
way. And so
Yeah.
finding a way that is, let's say, preferred.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's in physical therapy and
Mhm.
occupational therapy and all the therapies, right?
Yep.
Speech
Oh,
therapy, the
yeah.
whole thing, all the therapies. Did you notice the OCD and all of that prior to the teens coming out, or what did that start to manifest more towards when he became 13?
Sure, that's a great question. I would say I noticed it coming to prominence around the
Okay.
age of 12. There was always, and that's the tricky thing is autism, I don't want to say it has OCD baked into it, but there's perseverations, there's special interests, there's
Mhm.
compulsion.
Mhm.
So I did see things like that, but it was just not to the extent that it started. And the thing about OCD that I've learned, and there's this book that I recommend to everybody who is has somebody with OCD in their family, and I think it's actually called When Someone in the Family Has OCD. It's by John Hirschfield, and we can link it in the show notes. I really recommend, if you can, to listen to it on Audible, because this person is a person who suffered with OCD probably for over 30 years. And he just like, he's funny. He just like, it's like a really grounding experience, right? Like, and he talks about it in a really real way. Like, there is clinical stuff in there, but it's in a really real way. And what he does in that book is he breaks down the different types of OCD,
Okay.
because I will say a couple things about OCD. OCD is not what you just stereotypically think of it as somebody who needs to knock on the wall 3 times before they cross, the threshold, or somebody will die, or they need to wash their hands over and over. Although those are ways that OCD does present, there are many other ways. And if you don't know these ways,
Right.
you will think that your child is being difficult, perhaps being crazy. I mean, OCD can look and feel crazy because it's not logical. And when
Right.
you try to, bring logic to it, and this would go the same thing for maybe an autism perseveration too. There's so much overlap. And so what I learned through this book is that my son was having what they call just right OCD. And
Just
so
right.
if, something, needs to be in a straight line, or, your socks have to, both socks have to, like, reach the certain point on your knee, or you have to make sure that you wrote the letter correctly and you're erasing your homework over and over again. Like, things like that, where you might not like I didn't recognize it necessarily as OCD. I recognized it as like almost like a perseveration, more of like an autism perseveration, which who
Mm,
knows where the line is. But it got to the point where it made life unlivable. And it's so hard to explain how that would be the case. But it's like, if I can't close this loop, like if he can't close the loop, then we're not moving. Quite literally, we are not
right.
moving. And
Right.
it's happening. But the thing about these loops is they're not logic based. And so when I would try to jump in there with logic, it just quite literally did not matter. It
Right.
just did not matter.
Right. And, in learning to regulate yourself in the middle of that can be very difficult, right? Now, I know that you're teaching parents how to approach like these types of meltdowns and how to be calm and confident when they do it. And, that's not an easy thing, right? Because you're talking about also being self aware. You're talking about also understanding yourself too, right? Because you're
Yeah,
approaching what's that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're talking about parents who, if you're having this conversation, you're likely living in crisis. You're
Yeah.
living day to day in a state where this isn't happening once a week, once a month. This is happening
All the time.
momentarily, moment by
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
right? Thing by thing. And so the idea that you are going to stay regulated all the time is just, you're not. I mean, you're a
No,
human
no
being.
human,
You're
period.
just not. And so, like,
Yeah.
my focus just became more on, what can I do differently to
Yeah.
lower the temperature for myself and for him in
Yeah.
this situation?
Yeah.
And so things like jumping in and trying to explain an OCD, or trying to explain it away, or tell him why he shouldn't be upset about what he's upset about, just that right there. Like, a lot of this has to do with doing less, right? Which is
Yeah.
not what we want, right? We want to jump in and we want to do more. So it's like talking less, doing less, focusing less on them and more on yourself in those moments. Like,
Mm,
can I pause? Can I take a breath? Can I remind myself that this is the OCD or the autism or whatever it is? It's not my child. You see
mm,
some parents, and I get it. I was one of these parents where it's like, they're not listening to me. They're not respecting me. They're not making it personal about themselves, about the child. And I get it. And it's a hard sometimes to figure out, like, what's autism or OCD, and what's like my kid being a pain in the ass teenager, right? Like,
right.
I get that. But at the same time, it's like, nobody is doing this because it feels good to them.
Right.
And when it
Right.
really just, my son, like, however crazy he was driving me, his brain is doing that to him and he gets no relief from that. And I
Mm,
don't say that in a way to make parents feel sad and ashamed, but it is a reminder that you need that this isn't them, but at the same time, it's not you either. And so it's like there were times where I had to just walk away or I had to pause or I had to,
yeah.
ask for a, get my own kind of a time out because it is overwhelming.
Yeah. But you're also talking to parents who don't have children with autism, right? Because this is a real thing
Absolutely.
and this affects all of us, right? So
Yeah.
when you're teaching these parents how to approach these meltdowns, this can be applied everywhere across the board. So what mindset shift do you think that makes the big difference? Like what was the biggest difference for you and what do you teach your clients, especially when there's these high stress moments? Like what's that mindset shift that you think has to be made?
Yeah, I think there's multiple, but I kind of want to just go back a little bit. You said it could apply to all parents, and
Yeah.
I agree with that. And so just say like you're not a parent with a child with autism or ADHD or any of that, but you're a parent of a child with an iPhone and they're in school and they are upset because they weren't invited to something or other people are on a group chat that they're not on and they're feeling away and you're trying to explain to them why it's okay, they shouldn't be worried or it's that's the
Mhm.
same thing, right?
Mhm, it
Like
is, yeah.
what I would say is just stepping back and just like this is not mine to fix, but how can I be supportive in this moment? And so for me, the validation and validation can be really hard when you don't think your child should be upset about a thing.
Right.
Right. And so for me, like with my son, I'm like, dude, I know this is really hard. I'm really sorry that you're going through this. I know this is really hard. And just trying to have that heart to heart, sort of like
Mhm.
connection with him. I wish that there was something I can do, but I know this is really hard. So how about we do this instead? Or how about you tell me one more time, but then we're going to take a time out for 5 minutes. Like it would be little things like that for like this particular thing with the OCD. And I know that
Yeah.
I just said is not applicable across the board. I know, but so it's really for you figuring out in your house, like what is helpful. Is it helpful to put your child in a room and let them like, punch pillows and like whatever they do, right? Like you're going to have to figure it out for
Yeah.
your child.
Yeah, and that's a lot to figure out because a lot of parents, at least there's some of them that I've spoken to, right? They feel isolated, they feel overwhelmed, and they don't always have the strategies, right? They don't they don't have the
Well, yeah, and I
strategy.
mean, when you're living in a constant state, that sort of hypervigilance, and oh, by the way, you're worried about your job, your other kids, getting
Yes.
food on the table, like,
Yes. Yes.
there's the news that happens and, however that impacts you on a day-to-day basis. Like, there's a lot of life happening. And so what I found out really quickly, it was never just about the behavior. And so for instance, like, let's just say that my son is in a loop and I need to get him on the this was a big one for us for a while. I need to get him on the van to go to his school that I just got him outplaced to after, incidents at his public school. So now he's in an outplacement, but he won't get on that van. And it's not just about him perseverating and not getting on the van. It's if he doesn't get on the van and go to that school, what's going to happen? What's the next step? Are they just is he going to get kicked out of school? Will he be home with me? What happens to my job
Right.
if
Oh my god.
as the
Yeah.
sole breadwinner, if I
Yeah.
have a child who is not in school and demands, 24/7 supervision, right? And so in that moment, it's just not like honestly, like I can feel the anxiety percolating in my own body, just remembering how
Yeah.
terrifying this is. So it's
Yeah.
not just about my son struggling in that moment, it's about everything, right?
Everything. Yeah.
It's about everything.
Yeah, because they are our world, and so it affects our world in every area,
Absolutely.
right? And so
Absolutely.
now you're adding in the elements of the neurodivergence and all this other stuff is now added to it, right? So it becomes real. I mean, I'm feeling it in my body too because I know that it's something like that my daughter is experiencing and what she will experience as he becomes a little bit older. He's a little bit harder to control now. Like he's bigger now. He knows how to open gates now. He knows how to do these
Mhm.
things now. And it's becoming a little bit more for her. Like she's like, oh,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah. And I was talking about you. to her because I said, I met this amazing woman. I'm ready to talk to her. And I said, she has a teenager. And I went through the whole thing because you and I had such a great conversation the first time. And she's like, oh my gosh, mom, I didn't even think about the teenage years. Because
And
she's just
and
doing the
no,
day to day,
and
right?
no, and don't, because you
Yeah.
can't really like, you
Yeah.
just what's in front of you right now is what you
Exactly.
manage. I
That's what
mean,
I told her. Yeah.
I try to be really careful with this in the group program that I have because they have moms of kids with teenagers who've been through hell and back, and I have moms of younger kids. And the truth is you might not experience what we're experiencing. You
Yes.
for sure. I don't want to scare people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
there would have been no benefit to me of worrying about the teenage years and the 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, because quite frankly, we had gotten to a really good place where autism was very challenging, but I had adjusted everything to it. I sort of knew how to roll in the autism world.
Mm-hmm,
And then
mm-hmm.
when OCD and puberty and COVID hit, there's no preparing for
Right.
that. There's zero preparing for that.
No, no,
And
there
guess
is
what? All
Lisa.
of those when our kids hit, like, you could have done and you could do all the therapies, all the interventions, every recommendation, and that happens, it all goes out the window. And
Yeah.
so what
Yeah.
I experienced in those teenage years, I said to myself, or I said to somebody, I said, I feel like I'm in no man's land and I'm just throwing things against the wall.
Yeah.
And as I said that, I was like, oh, wait a second. I've been here before. So as an
Mm,
autism parent, as a parent of a neurodivergent person, what you go through in those first couple of years, it's like the boot camp for the rest of the experience. Like,
yeah.
you know what it's like to be in no man's land. You know what it's like to have experts who either don't believe you or they don't have the answers, right? They don't understand your child. And these are all things that we experience throughout the journey. They're not just things that happen in those first couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, I told her that too. And thank you for saying that to everyone listening too, because she was like, I didn't even think of the hormones. I said, well, don't think about that right now because we need to think about right now. Like, where is he
Absolutely.
right now? And she's like, huh. You know, 'cause
Yeah,
'cause
yeah,
she also just had another baby, so she has
yeah.
two now, right? So yeah, that is something. So I want to dig into, if you're okay with it, I want to dig into your program, what it is that you're doing
Right.
with people, because I think that's super important. And I have a lot of amazing people listen to the show, and I am pretty definite because autism is such a prevalent thing right now that some they know someone or they themselves are going through this. So tell me a little bit about your program. What is it that you're doing? Because you said something about a group. So I wanna
Sure.
hear about that. Yeah, tell me
Yeah.
about it.
So currently, the way my program is that I do one-on-one coaching with autism moms who can come to me for really any variety of reasons. A lot of times they are, they're finding it hard to manage their own emotions while their child is maybe having meltdowns or getting really frustrated, or they don't understand their child's behaviors. My cat just joined.
I love that.
Meanwhile, he could use some therapy as well. So I work with clients one-on-one, and as part of my one-on-one program, I also do group calls with, all of my current clients and then any former clients who have joined the group. And so it's a
Okay,
really small group. We do weekly calls, and we have an app that my clients can ask for coaching anytime they want. They can get support from me
that's wonderful.
directly. They can get support from the community. What's going to happen though in quarter one of 2006 is that I'm going to offer the group membership as a standalone separate thing. So you don't have to work with me one on one. You could just
Okay.
go into the group. For those folks who just go into the group, what I'm going to create are modules that they can teach themselves, they can learn from the modules without me one-on-one teaching them things, but they can come also to the group calls and they can get coached, they can
That's
learn
great.
how to
That is
implement.
great. Mhm.
Yeah, and so what I am designing this group around is both a framework. So this is not just like you come and you talk about whatever's going on, although that will be part of it. I really want to provide parents with a North Star. And so this is what I call my solid framework. And so solid is something that became really prevalent to me when I was going through the height of aggression with my child. I learned about this concept of the solid object. And the idea of the solid object is that when when a person is out of control, dysregulated, they are looking to attach themselves to a solid object. That could be a teacher, that could be a parent, and they are looking to us. Are you grounded? Are you steady? Can I rely on you
Mm, mm,
me down? And so really my whole philosophy is around how can I stay grounded? How can I re-regulate myself over and over? So maybe I'm not as calm as, a Zen master, but I could at least be the calmest nervous system in the room. So I can just stay that notch below my son so that I am in control. And I'm
right,
also modeling to him that I am safe, that he can rely on me
right,
to bring
right.
him back. And so part of the, so that is so solid as a word and as also just, a way of being means a lot to me in my program and how I teach my parents. But the solid framework itself is really devoted to the parent. And so solid stands for self-led, observant, level, as in regulated, intentional, and deeply resourced. And so I will create modules around each of those
It's
things
great.
that
That is
parents
great.
can dig into. They can learn about different ways to regulate themselves, different understanding of their behavior, their child's behaviors and triggers, so that they can be again have like that 10,000-foot understanding and those tools, but then they can also come to the group calls and get directly coached by me and supported by the group.
That's really, really great, right? The support is it's so important because I think that, it's difficult sometimes. Like I tell my daughter, has she looked around for any kind of like peer groups or some kind of group for her and her husband to be able to, I don't know, get support or help or things like that, right? And she said she hasn't. And I don't know if she thinks she can just wing this on her own, but I know that this is going to be a challenge. It was a challenge for me, right? I have a child with ADHD, really, really bad ADHD, right? So that was really a challenge for me. And I used to think he was just being, disrespectful and not doing the right
Yep,
things and all those things. And I was
yes.
constantly fighting with him until this day. He's 30 years old and we still argue about stupid things. And it's just like, okay, I wish I had the knowledge that I have now then, because I would have done everything completely differently, right? And there's nothing I can do about that. Time is gone. But I still can gain knowledge and have people like you on the show that will spread that knowledge, right?
I
And
mean, I
so
say to my clients, I'll be, I'm talking to them. I'm like, let me just be really clear here. I'm telling you what I wish I had done.
right.
Now, I do have proof of concept of doing these things at different times and them working, but I actually didn't have the 10,000-foot view of
Yeah,
why it was working.
right.
And so sometimes just that awareness alone, it provides you with so much more power. Cause like
Yeah,
even just being like, oh, I get right now why I got so mad when that happened or why I
yeah.
got so frustrated. Just knowing that really does put you back in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I think so. And it also helps me guide my children with their children, which is a
Yeah.
good thing, right? So before I wrap up, I do want to know for parents listening who may be feeling exhausted, maybe discouraged, maybe they're like I did when I was younger too, like you're failing, right? What do you think would be like the first step that they can take today? If they had to do something today, what do you think that would be?
The parents who feel like they're failing,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm going to tell you you're not failing and that look, you are raising a child that has challenges that we don't really quite understand as a
yeah.
society, as even the doctors. I've been the doctors all over the country, right? We don't, and you are really doing the best that you can in this situation. And so the idea that you're feeding yourself that you are failing, that is just going to erode your own self-confidence and really your confidence and your ability to take care of yourself and to stay calm and to know that you are the CEO of this ship. That is what's going to help you become that grounded, solid object that your child needs. And so you might not know what the next answer is,
Mhm.
but really just trusting like, okay, I'm going to try this. And if it doesn't work, we're going to try this. Because that really is what this journey is all about. It's
Mhm.
not finding the right thing because there really is no right
That's
thing.
that's very
It's
true.
just having the tenacity to keep on going. And the way that you have that is you have to have your own back. You have to remind yourself, like, I am doing the best that I can in a situation where there are no answers. There are
Yeah.
no perfect answers at all.
Right. So before I let you go, I need to know how people can work with you, right? Because I want to spread this episode like high and wide. And I want to make sure that people know where to reach you because this is so important. And what you're doing is it's just so admirable and beautiful and hard and all the things, right? But it's so necessary, Lisa. It's so necessary. You are necessary, is what I'm saying. You are
I mean,
necessary. Your mind, what you've been through, all your experiences, like, and I really believe this, like all the hard things that we go through in life, it's not for us to just go through them and die. I believe that it's for us to take that knowledge and help. Sorry, there they go.
listen, they have things to
They
say.
do. My husband's coming home. But what you're doing is you're taking all of those hardships, the tears that I know you cried, those moments that I know where you were like, I'm pulling my hair out. I don't know what to do anymore. Right. And you're taking that now and giving someone else some knowledge, some hope, some skills. So I love that you hung out with me today on Straight Talk. I'm so grateful for you and the work that you do. And on a personal level as well, knowing that what my daughter is going through and will go through, and there's people like you in the world. So you may be, having my daughter in your group soon is all I'm saying. So give us that information where people can reach out and work with you, or at least know the resources that you have.
Sure. So one of the things that I'm going to leave you with is a link to my meltdown action plan. And so in, being the solid object, I teach a before, during, and after process, and really being able to prepare ahead of time is what gives you the most power. And so I will leave a link to that meltdown action plan for you. Folks who sign up for it will automatically be on my email list. They can email me whenever they want, whatever they want. You can also find me on my website, theautismmomcoach.com, on Facebook and Instagram at the Autism Mom Coach. You can find me in any of those ways and you can connect with me over email or DM, or you can schedule an appointment with me as well if you're interested in learning more about the one-on-one program and how I can work with you to tailor I tailor my coaching to where my clients are and what you need in the moment. And so during that conversation, I just want to hear, like, what are you struggling with? And we could talk about whether us working together is the next right step for you and your family.
That is so good. Thank you so much. And see, I know that the challenges that you've gone through have also made you so malleable, right? I'm saying because you're like,
For sure.
I will meet you where you are right now because I know tomorrow is going to look completely different.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so awesome, Sauce. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you.
Thank you
So
so much for
grateful.
having me.
So good. Guys, I'm going to make sure to link all of that below. I'm also going to go look at that resource as well, tell my daughter about it because I think this is so important. When somebody can really like give you a different point of view, a different way to look at something and pull you out sometimes because I don't know about any of y'all, but I know me as a parent, I sometimes get in the weeds and I don't know how to pull myself back out of
We
it.
all
Okay. And I feel like if somebody is out here really helping to give you some of the skills that you may need at that moment to help you regulate yourself, to be calm, to be able to look at this in a different perspective, it is worth all of your attention. So I'm going to make sure I link all of that below because I want you to connect with Lisa. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. And please share this episode with anyone you know that may need this type of resource because I know that you know someone if it is not yourself. Love you guys so much. This is Neena Perez, Straight Talk, no sugar added. Until next time.